Hello everyone. The sandzak logical argument. What is the sandzak logical argument? The sandzak logical argument will be an argument against the Albanians who claim sandzak and looking into this topic by logic. We will use the two logical axioms, the necessary truths by which we will determine this argument. We will oversimplify this argument what modus ponens is. If P, then Q. P is positive, therefore Q is also positive. An example would be if P, then Q. It rained, the ground is wet. P is positive, it did rain, and the Q will also be positive, therefore the ground is wet. But the explanation of modus tollens would be if P, then Q. If Q is negative, therefore P is also negative. An example would be if P, then Q. If it rained, then the ground is wet. Q is negative, the ground is not wet, and P would be therefore it did not rain. Same can be seen in our first video that we have shown what Albanianhood is and what Albanians are. An Albanian is going to be someone who possesses the predicates of Albanianhood, which make him Albanian. The definition was also given in that video, but we will also show it in this video. The classical definition of an ethnicity would be a large group of people with a shared culture, language, history, set of traditions, etc. As we said, for Albanians, they have predicates of Albanianhood, which make them Albanians. Before we start with the argument, we just need to understand what P and Q means. P means an entity has the predicates of Albanianhood, and Q means the entity is Albanian. In modus ponens, this would look like, firstly, the form, if P then Q, the P is positive, therefore Q is also positive. The argument would be, if P then Q, if an entity has predicates of Albanianhood, then he is an Albanian. P would be, if P is positive, the entity has predicates of Albanianhood, and therefore Q, therefore this entity is an Albanian. For modus tollens, we will swap P and Q for better wording. P will mean the entity is an Albanian, and Q will mean the entity has the predicates of Albanianhood. And for modus tollens, it will be if P then Q. If an entity is an Albanian, then he has the predicates of Albanianhood. If Q is negative, if the entity does not have the predicates of Albanianhood, therefore P will also be negative because Q is negative, meaning therefore the entity is not an Albanian. The best way to explain such an argument would be Albanianhood is consisted of language, culture, self-identification, and much more other predicates, which makes one Albanian. And the argument would be Albanians cannot prove that the people of Sandzak, who identify as Bosniaks, had Albanian origins or Albanian ancestors who had these predicates, basically meaning because they cannot prove this, the Bosniaks have an upper hand because we have done a video on this explaining, giving a lot of proof that these people identified more with the Bosniak ethnonym than the Albanian ethnonym, because the Bosniak ethnonym was dominant because of administrative system, language, a lot of influence from Bosnia, and so on. So this will be a big argument for the Bosniaks. And just to explain why the Bosniaks have an upper hand in this argument, it will be the burden of proof. If one makes a positive claim and someone negates that claim, then the person who made that claim needs to prove that claim and not the one who negates it. The best example for this would be, the example will be Bertrand Russell's teapot or Russell's teapot. The argument goes like this. If one told us that a teapot, which we cannot observe by any technology we have, that revolves around the moon, would we believe him? Well, we wouldn't, because we would uh, ask him, what is the proof for such a claim? And because we negate it, someone telling us that claims this, well, you need to prove that it doesn't exist. This is not valid.